Otakuology Podcast with Otaku Mike Engine Graves.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Otakuology Podcast. I'm Mike. I'm here with Jen. We have two very special guests today. We have John and Matt from Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing good.
Did I get the name right? I feel like I got the name wrong.
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
Sometimes I want to say Trains, Planes, and Comic Books.
Well, just think about that movie from the 80s. That's kind of what we named it after.
Yeah.
The 80s John Candy movie.
Yes, that's what always comes to mind when I think of it.
Yes.
But I had found you guys when I was I had this job that I was doing at the time, and your podcast popped up for me, and I went through all of your episodes within the span of like a month because I had so much. I had so much time on my hands. And I needed a new comic podcast to listen to, and I really delve in and started to really enjoy your podcast. And
Nice.
But tell everybody what your podcast is about.
Yeah. John, you want to hit this one?
Yeah, I mean, so our podcast is pretty much any kind of comic review. We do everything from like new stuff that's out that's, people are really talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We do old classics. We do kind of like weird indie stuff in between. Now that we have a little bit of chatter going on, we're taking suggestions and running things by and seeing what people want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And we also throw in some fun things. We're both really big true crime guys too, so we've done a couple true crime comics too. So
yeah, I have those are some pretty fun episodes. I've listened to a couple of those. Those are pretty crazy. Once I went and actually looked them up, I was like, oh my god, that actually happened.
Yes, some of those are gnarly because like how bloody and everything they get. And and the fact that it's true, you're like, oh my god, like how did they make this into a comic?
Yeah, right. But my first question was, how did you guys come up with the concept for your podcast?
It's pretty simple. I was like, "Hey, John, want to do a podcast where we read a comic book a week or a whole story a week and just talk about it?" And he was like, "Okay." And then we kind of, I don't know. In the first couple episodes, we were like, "I don't know what to do. Let's just pick random books, and hopefully, people will suggest stuff eventually." But now that we're getting suggestions, we're trying to do that more, but it took a while for like, us to actually get feedback from people.
Yeah.
So we were just picking, I'm like, hey, let's read another DC Swamp Thing book, John. And he's like, okay.
Were you guys both into podcasts before you started your podcast?
I was, John, I don't know about you.
I hit a couple specific ones. Like I do some stand-up comedy on the side a little. I'm obviously not this year, but so I listened to like Your Mom's House and a little bit of Joe Rogan and Whitney Cummings. Just some of the ones. Tiger Belly. So just a couple mainly comedy ones, and then Matt kind of threw out some other comic ones to me when we were getting started, and also now just a little more political ones too. I like to delve a little into it, but
don't get all crazy, all political on us, John.
Right?
We're gonna get this was gonna be nice and fun, but now it's really serious.
We're gonna have to cancel you now.
Oh my god! So I want to piggyback off of Mike's question, and I actually want to know because, like, I knew about the podcast, but I really didn't know about the podcast. If that makes sense. But I really want to know, like, y'all's origin story of how y'all became friends.
Oh wow, John, you want to tell the story?
I was like, I don't know if this is going to come off as a good story or not. So I'll say this first: the name for our podcast, Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, comes from, like Matt was saying, Planes, Trains, Automobiles, because one of the first movies that like we really connected on, and like
Oh, that's cool.
we quoted all the time. We still to this day, it doesn't matter. We'll just break out stuff. Hey, I ramble if you can't tell, and so Matt will always be like, "Hey, it's as nice as it sounds. Like, hey, here's an idea when you're telling the story. Well, have a point."
It's so much more interesting for the listener. Yeah.
So so just to go back on that, like how we became friends, like so it's gonna sound not as good starting off. At least Matt will agree with me. Is that so? I actually had a crush on a friend of his.
Oh,
and they're from Hawaii. Matt's from well, not from, but they were.
I grew up in Hawaii.
okay.
Okay.
And so he lived here, and she came to visit him, and I was like, "Oh, hey, I want to, to visit with you." And so by proxy, I hung out with Matt, and then she left and whatnot, and Matt didn't know anybody, and I was like, "Oh, I like this guy. He seems kind of cool. He's he's a little older than me. He's cool. I'm still a weird high school kid." So
yeah, this is 15 years ago, by the way. This is like 15 years. Yeah.
And so it started off with, I guess this weird high school kid wants to hang out, so that's fun or whatever. And so we started off kind of like, yeah, I guess we'll hang out. And then I think just from there was finding those commonalities. Like Matt and I are both big movie buffs, and in particular, we found this out very early. We go down a rabbit hole of really crappy movies that are so bad they're good, like kind of cult classic or worse.
Yeah.
And like literally once we found that out about each other, like we literally like multiple times a week we would go to, back when they had movie stores, to
Blockbuster.
Blockbuster, and actually browse movies and be like, what is this? That cover looks horrible. And then turn over in the back, it's like, oh, two people, it like, especially if they're horror is definitely a bigger category for us. And so we would just rent 3 or 4 really crappy movies and hang out all night, and it just kind of spawned from there. And I guess he got used to me, and
you wore me down. Yeah, I remember one specific time we went to Vulcan Video when that was still a thing in Austin, and we rented. We just, based on the name, we rented Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh no!
And I was like, "Well, this sounds like a gem, Like, I don't know, it sounds weird." And we watched it, and like when they started, for anyone who doesn't know, they actually kill animals on the screen. I was like, "That's not special effects. That's not special effects. like this is the most messed up movie I've ever seen." And then. Then we bonded over that experience. So yeah,
such a traumatic experience that you had to bond.
Exactly.
Yes.
Wow, that's some story.
Yeah, basically, he was a high school kid that knew a friend of mine, and I was like lonely and didn't have anybody to hang out with, and he wore me down. He kept calling me, being like, "Let's hang out." So
yeah. So how did you guys get into comics, or when exactly did you guys get into comics?
Oh man, it's a weird. For me, it was from my brother. My older brother was like kind of when I was young, he was already kind of into comics, and he's about 4 years older than me, and that was like he was about 8 or 9 when the speculation boom was going on in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like Death of Superman and all that stuff. So he was into it, and he's an artist too. So he was like really into all that image stuff and everything.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, if he thinks it's cool, it's cool. So he would go buy comics that I didn't have any money, and I would just walk in the stores with him and stuff. And then he would watch like Batman the Animated Series. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I love Batman and stuff. And then when we moved to Hawaii when I was 10, and it was like one of the rural islands, so there was nothing there. And this is before Amazon and stuff. You can't buy books or anything there. So
really?
It was like, there was no like comic book stores or anything on the island I was on, and no Walmart or anything at the time either.
Yeah.
And so it was like, I have no way to get these things that I liked, and so I just kind of would reminisce in my head about like the X-Men animated show and Batman Adventures of Batman and stuff. And then manga was big over there, like Dragon Ball and stuff hit,
yeah.
like when Toonami was a big
Uh-huh.
thing. So there's a lot of Japanese and Asian culture stuff over there. So we had all of my friends watched Dragon Ball, and they all read like the actual mangas in Japanese and stuff.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I had a lot of friends that were actually
Man.
from Japan that moved there. So I was like, oh, that's cool, So they would have like all the movies and stuff. They're like, you want to watch Dragon Ball Z? I'm like, yeah, it's awesome. They're like, it's like a child show. And I'm like, and I was like, I don't know, it's pretty fucking cool to me. Like, I don't know, I watched that when I was like 5, man. I'm like, I don't know. All right, well, let's watch it again. So they kind of got into that, and then when I moved to Texas, I was like, oh my god, there's comic book stores here.
Yeah.
I must get into it. And then eventually I started working at Austin Books and Comics in the mid 2000s, and that's when I really got into stuff, because when you work there, you kind of
When
have
did you
to
start
read
working
everything.
there? Is that what year?
That was in 2006 to 2009. I think I worked there.
We might have ran into each other and didn't even know it.
Potentially, yeah. Yeah, I was one of the weird kids that worked there. So. It was before it was right after they did their first expansion.
Uh-huh.
It was before they had like all the 10 stores now or whatever that
Yeah.
are kind of in the back. But it was like they had just done their first big expansion, and they had all their back issue bins turned into those wood bins, and
Mhm.
that's right when I started working there. So.
Okay. Interesting.
So since you brought up Dragon Ball Z as a kid, that was another one of my questions. Is what was both of y'all's like favorite cartoons as a kid?
Oh, yeah, mine for sure. My 3 were Batman, X-Men, and Dragon Ball Z. I don't know about you, John. What'd you watch?
Oh yeah, man. It's gonna depend on the time frame, and again, this is where you got to stop me from rambling. But so like I would say like overall the ones like I would still go back to is the Spider-Man animated
Mhm.
series. Like I've gone back and rewatched that,
Right.
which I tried to show my wife, and
Mhm.
she
She
like,
has seizures.
she was okay when it's like the basic animation because it was like that trying new things at the time. So when it goes to that 3D like going
Yeah.
between buildings and stuff, she's like, "Oh God, I can't do this." But yeah, so I love the animated Spider-Man series. I was real big on like that Cartoon Network lineup for a while too. Like was it
Dexter's Lab.
Dexter's Lab, Top Cat, or not
Mhm.
Top Cat? That's old. I like Top Cat. I like the old Hanna Barbera, but
Boomerang.
SWAT Cats. That's what I was.
SWAT Cats.
SWAT Cats. That's
Yeah.
what I was trying to remember.
What about Biker Mice from Mars, man?
And I watched a little Toonami. Like I liked Dragon Ball Z. I liked Tenchi Muyo. That was fun, and I watched a little bit of Sailor Moon. I had friends in the Sailor Moon, so it was like that's kind of cool.
Cool. So are you guys like big into like anime and manga as well, aside from like comics?
We're trying to get into manga more. For the longest time, pretty much it was just Dragon Ball that I ever like looked at.
Mhm.
And then I never read the manga for that. I saw my friends reading it, and they had the Japanese versions anyway,
Mhm.
and I never like picked it up because I was like, oh, I watched the show. And then so most of my exposure was with anime.
Mhm.
I liked a lot of the movies. So when I grew up, I didn't watch the shows as much other than Dragon Ball. I would watch like Jinro or Perfect
Uh-huh.
Blue or some of those
Yeah.
like feature films or whatever that are
Yeah.
like Akira, those kind of movies.
Yeah.
I mean, Akira, when I first saw that, I remember being like, what the hell is this?
Oh yeah.
This is the craziest
Right.
thing I've ever seen. But a lot of the TV shows like Cowboy Bebop and
Uh-huh.
Hellsing and stuff, I didn't check out, but all my friends watched. I don't know why. I just thought like, it's episodic. I'd rather
Yeah.
just watch like 2 hours or something.
I always have to catch myself sometimes because Mike originally, like whenever it counts down for us to start, he'll go 3, 2, 1, And sometimes if you're listening to some of the shows, I'll go
Yeah, I heard that.
and I'm like, Mike, I'm gonna have to stop doing that, or everybody's gonna start thinking we're like a Cowboy Bebop podcast.
Yes. Yeah, see, I knew that song, and I was like, why do I know this song? And I was like, oh, yeah, it's Cowboy Bebop. That's right. But I didn't watch that growing up, and all my friends did, so I heard the song enough.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, like manga-wise, I just started getting into it, and mainly, because of the podcast, because I'm like, well, I don't know if you guys know, but in like North America, manga is blowing up as far as readership.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, well, if that's where the audience is, right? if they're reading all this stuff,
Right.
maybe we should read some of this too. And it's comics. I mean, it's amazing comics for the most part. Like, everybody's they have so much stuff. And I remember when I worked at Austin Books, it was kind of like not that we would look down on it or whatever, but there was just like the one girl who knew manga.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the manga girl. So when I got a question about manga, I'd be like, you need to talk to Katie. But now it's like, I'm sure everybody knows manga there and they all read it.
Yeah. Give them the highlighter line. There can be only one.
Yeah.
Like I'm a fan of like both comics and manga. And I even still to this day feel like there's like a divide with the fandoms.
Right.
Sometimes, and it's weird because they're both technically the same thing.
It's the same thing. Yeah, it is. It's like it's pictures and words, right? So it shouldn't be that crazy. But you know what it is? And I because I'm reading more, like I just read the first volume of the Deluxe Berserk.
Yeah.
I just read Vinland Saga volumes 1 and 2. So a lot of the manga stuff, it feels like, compared to American comics, it's like American comics have like one straightforward plot or whatever. Like it'll be like Batman, finds out there's like the Joker has a bad thing going on and he's gonna stop it or whatever. And then like, but the manga will be like, there's an evil detective who is a serial killer and also an alien. And you're like, wait, why are you throwing 20 things into one story kind of thing? But then it's because they have so many books, they can just like drag out the story and really flesh out so much stuff that you can have a crazy plot premise like that. Whereas or at least in more old school American comics, you have like 6 issues to tell a story or whatever. So it's going to be more concise and straightforward kind of thing. So
I think that's how it kind of is too. Like whenever you're reading manga compared to comics, is it seems like American comics are more concise to what they're saying. So every panel matters. And in manga, you might get one where you're like, why is this guy talking about his last bowel movement? Like that doesn't even pertain to the book, like.
You'll have stuff that breaks character too, where like in Berserk, like Guts will make a weird joke to himself, and you're like, huh? Like that's weird because he just like freaked out about a demon or whatever, he just like aggroed out and murdered a bunch of stuff, and then he says like, "Aw," like oh, I hurt my head or something. You're like, that's weird, but it's kind of like a cultural thing, I think, more than like a storytelling thing, I think so. Yeah. And John, do you read any manga, John, on your own?
I was gonna say, like, so I've always been more of a comic guy. Like, and by that it's definitely still like lightly dipping my toe into the comic world. Like the first time I got comics was like my mom picked up random comics for me at the store and was like, "Here, I thought you'd like these." And I mean, they did turn out like she got me like Spider-Man Sinister Six and like it was like the death of Superman and like so like she got me stuff at the right time. And Captain America, who I ended up I think Captain America has been my favorite superhero pretty much my entire life. I don't know why. I was just standing up for what he believes is right. But as far as manga goes, like I had friends that read it, and like I remember like glancing or reading bits of things. But I guess I think I didn't get into it because I hadn't really watched even any anime at the time. Once I started watching anime, I was like, oh, okay, maybe I want to go and see like what they came from. Because like I'd say the only ones that I have really like read more of were Dragon Ball, because I ended up really enjoying the Dragon Ball series, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And they're like, "Oh, well, it's really fleshed out in the the manga, so you should check that out. And so yeah, going back with that, I was like, oh, this is really cool, and like you could see it's like exactly that. Plus, yeah, like whatever else they added, and like I remember checking out like I saw a little bit of like Death Note and what did my I had a friend that had the one they were really into. I'm trying to remember. Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh yes, that's a big one.
Yeah, that's I was trying to remember. So yeah, they were into that. They were again. They would be like, "Oh, you should check this out," and I just I don't know. I was just like, how? I think what it is, and this is something that Matt was like when we really sat down and looked at it. I was like, "Oh, it's not as bad." I would look how thick some of them are and be like,
Yeah,
I want to read War and Peace. Why is it so big? And then like he'd be like, "Oh no, look," and it's like 10 pages of it are just the person walking and like not even any dialogue, and it's like, oh, okay, wow. So like, yeah, they're really telling a story here, and it's they're just fleshing it out and taking their time on it. So
yeah, like one thing that we've had trouble with is finding stories that we could cover, like manga wise, because they're all so long.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. That from Matt and I talking, he's like, yeah, we have to find some that are like you can read one or two and get like pretty much the full story, and there's so many of them where it's like, oh no, it's still the same story, and they're on the 12th volume or the 14th volume. It's like, oh wow.
Right. Well, me and Mike just had that conversation earlier today because he was like, hey, let's read a couple comics. Any you like? I was like, yeah, I do. I was like, it's so easy to read comics compared to manga. So I'm like, I can't really suggest manga to Mike because then it's like, do I give him that power to decide to invest into it? Or do I just say, let's read a comic?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I hear you. That's what we do that too because I use for our podcast. We read stuff digitally generally because he can just log into my unlimited account on Comixology and read what I have there, and I can check out books a lot of the time for free. And then same with I have like Hoopla as well for the library app. And that has a lot of free books on there too that are comics. They don't have any manga on there, surprisingly, but maybe they can get some on there in the future. But and Comixology has a lot of manga, but a lot of it's like I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
Or it's stuff I've heard for the last 15 years. So I'm like, Death Note, we check that out, I guess. but or like Akira, or they don't even have Akira on there, which I was surprised. So it must be like a licensing thing, but that's how we usually read it. It's
just going to be a bad day that you and I became friends because I have so much manga to be like, hey, you should check this out.
Yeah, I saw a couple of your videos on YouTube where you're like, here's my giant stash of manga. I'm like, oh my god, these guys have giant bookcases full of manga.
Yeah, you thought you had a lot of comic books, Matt.
Yeah. Well, I look at my house and I'm like, oh, I have a bunch. I have so many hardcovers of comics. So
yeah,
like, on top of the actual individual issues.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the other thing. You're like, I have like 15 different formats of the same book. So that's one thing that's nice about manga is you just buy the one book and you're done pretty much.
Unless they re-release it in a nicer version.
True.
Then you got to go get that.
Screw that! I'm not buying all those.
Well, yeah, that's why I started with buying Berserk in the deluxe edition anyway. I'm like, if I like this, I'm gonna buy the deluxe edition too. So I might as well just buy the first one, and if I like that, then I'll just keep buying them in that form.
So did you enjoy your read of Berserk?
Oh yes, it was the first. It's weird. I'm a big fan of Conan and like those kind of comics.
Oh yeah.
So I like strongman comics.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is kind of, I'm of course going to like this, but I had tried to watch the anime or one of the animes. I don't know which one. It was the one on Netflix. So I was like, let's try Berserk.
Don't watch that one.
I did not like it. I could not get into it. And so,
well, there's like 3 of them on there. Don't watch any of them.
Okay. Yeah. I tried to watch like one of the first episodes or one of the movies or something. I don't know. And it was just like, yeah, this isn't clicking. And so, but my brother, who also, he still reads comics and he was asking for Berserk for like Christmas and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, if he likes it, it's probably good. So, and he was on like the 4th volume of the deluxe edition
Yeah.
or whatever. So I was like, okay, I'll buy the first one and we'll see how it is. So the first 2, and I'm gonna do like an in-depth review on our YouTube channel
Oh,
on
cool.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the first 2/3 of it, I was like, okay, it's just like guy walk into city, guy kill demon, guy move to next city, guy kill demon. Like it's pretty by the numbers.
What
But
about
then,
that first page?
oh yeah, that first page, of course. That is like it's definitely telling you this book is not for certain people. If
Yeah.
you don't like the character. That's one thing that I liked about this is you're not a big fan. He's kind of like an anti-hero. Guts is if John has not read it, so he's kind of like doesn't know what we're talking about. But on the
should
first
dip your toe
page,
and read this. It's an interesting manga.
yes,
Matt was telling me some of the things though.
yeah, I think we're going to read the first deluxe version
Oh,
on the
sweet.
podcast. So, because I read it in like 2 hours because,
Yeah.
like we said, manga is kind of like it says 300 pages, but it's not really because I could just blow through it.
Uh-huh.
So, oh, did we lose John?
Oh, I think we might have just lost him.
Do we need to pause and?
Oh yeah, let's pause and see if we can. I'm gonna hit.
We were talking about Berserk.
Oh, we were talking about Berserk. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Is he still? Is he back on? I
yeah,
don't hear him.
yeah, he's on.
John, talk. I can't hear him.
Oh, you can't hear him?
No.
You can't hear him?
Is this the joke that I made to John coming for real?
Because we can hear him.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we can hear both of y'all.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I just see him as guest, and it's like not highlighted like the rest of you guys are.
John, can you hear Matt? Oh, but you can't hear Matt?
All right. I want to stop it, and then
Yeah,
we'll
can we pause it? And
Yeah.
then, yeah.
Man, what kind of a crappy game would that be to be like, do I trust my co-host enough to answer questions correctly? Even though I can't?
I think I speak for Matt when I say I hated it.
Yeah, there you go.
I feel like if it was me and Mike that got put in this situation, it would definitely be bad because they'd be like, you said you were going to date my sister? I never said that.
Yeah.
I'd find out that Mike promised a lot of different things to like people that I was like, I never said any of that.
So, Jin, what's your next question?
So my next question is, do either of y'all collect like action figures, like the Marvel Legends, anything like that?
Oh God.
Or the DC
Yes.
Universe action figures?
I collect. Well, my wife and I collect a lot of pops, unfortunately, but we have so many of those. And then I collect all like the Batman animated figures that came out recently. So I have like the Batmobile and all that stuff from the animated series.
Are
and a
those
bunch
the
of-
one from McFarlane Toys?
No, but I have those too.
Oh, okay.
I have a lot of Batman stuff. And then I also have a 2-foot tall Swamp Thing maquette from Sideshow.
What?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Oh.
That I bought last year. Stupidly, but also it's awesome, so I don't care.
But
Hey, you're
it was
an
worth the
adult.
money.
Yeah, it was worth all $900 of it. I'm still paying it off, but
I mean, we all have to have that one treasure. So that piggybacks off of into one of my other questions too. Is do you have a prop for one of your favorite characters that you actually own?
oh yeah,
So,
like a
so,
prop.
I mean,
like-
that would fit that.
yes, I mean I could swaddle this Swamp Thing and like hold it in my arms if I wanted to.
Yes.
So it is the size of a small child. So,
Wrap it up in a blanket and walk around the store and put like one of those fake things in it. Have
exactly.
some little old lady come up, coochie. What the hell?
Oh my
is
God.
that?
What kind of swamp thing is that? John, do you got? I don't remember what memorabilia you still have.
I collect too many things. Is we'll start there.
Uh-huh.
I luckily when I met my wife, I
Mhm.
mean, it wasn't her decision, it wasn't her idea. But I did start to pare down.
Yeah.
But as far as like consistent things, we do the Funko Pops as well. We try
Mhm.
to be selective because it started to get out of hand. Um, but myself, I do the Star Wars Black Series figures. I
Oh,
really like
okay.
those.
Cool.
A lot of detail. I am a huge Star Wars nerd. Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty much my top fandom. Like Matt, this last year went a little crazy, and I bought the life size Baby Yoda Grogu.
Oh.
That was like $300.
Oh.
Well worth it. And actually, I Hasbro just they've been doing the like crowdfunding
Mhm.
toys recently for like the really big ones, and I just did the Razor Crest from the Mandalorian. So there's
Oh,
another
man.
another $300.
Oh. And they
So
just blew it up too in the show.
yeah, I was literally I bought it, and it was like 2 weeks later. I was like, oh, well, I still like it. I guess it'll be fine.
It did you dirty, John.
They did, but yeah. So the problem is, where do I put all
Yeah.
this stuff too? Is I like to be an out of box collector. Like, I like to display this
Mhm.
stuff, but we're running out of some room here.
I think every collector has that problem. We start to run out of room.
Yeah,
Like my wife hates my
Totally true.
collection because it's all in our bedroom. She won't let me have it anywhere else but the bedroom.
I am only allowed to have a comic in our bedroom if I'm reading it.
Oh yeah.
Time. Like, she's like, none of that nerd shit in here. I'm like, all right.
Okay.
Good.
that's the sanctity.
Like
Yeah.
In that room, all nerd fandom stays out.
Yeah.
like my collection is so bad, it started to overtake our closet. And
Oh, wow.
I put shelves up in my closet to hold all my stuff.
I don't have a storage facility that holds some of my stuff. So you're fine. That's not that bad then.
John pays another rent just to have his stuff.
I mean,
You know.
this kind of leads into my other question: was do y'all's wives like, do they approve or support your hobbies?
Yes.
Yeah, kind of, maybe.
Yes? Question mark.
Yeah. I mean, my wife, she doesn't read comics that
Mhm.
much, but she doesn't care that I read them. I mean,
Mhm.
if she doesn't understand why I would spend $100 on like an omnibus
Yeah.
or something, but I have the money, so it's
Mhm.
like, I mean, it's like, well, I'm gonna buy it. So
Yeah.
so you'd be okay. You can buy your makeup, and I don't understand that stuff sometimes, but or like, whatever. Sometimes she likes Pops a lot, so she gets that part of it at least.
Mhm.
Like, she has her own. She got a pop addiction. We'll say that.
Oh yeah.
She will- I mean, most wives have their house set up where the living room isn't going to have toys and stuff in it. No, she put shelves in our like living room and
Oh, yeah.
dining room and all this stuff just for her Pops. And then
Oh,
like
Oh, you guys gotta keep them separate.
yeah, well, I mean, she had so much, it was like, I guess we'll just put yours on your thing, and then I have mine on this one shelf
Mhm.
or whatever.
Oh
And
my
then
gosh.
yeah, so
You should be like, who really
gets
has
that.
the addiction here, hon?
Exactly. And I mean, we have driven to like San Antonio
Oh my
for one of her Pops. Like,
Oh wow.
she'll be like, hey, let's drive 100 miles today. Also, she doesn't know like distances, so she'll be like, oh yeah, someone in Killeen has a Pop I want. Is that okay? I
Oh.
told them we'd be there at 6. I'm like, that's like an hour and a half away. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, oh, I didn't know, but can we still get it? I'm like, oh, I guess so.
You might have to tell them we'll be a little late, okay?
Yeah, road trip. Oh.
I mean, Texas is pretty big.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
keep telling her that, but she doesn't understand the spaces. She's from Los Angeles, so everything's within 4 miles, but it takes an hour and a half to get there usually.
Oh yeah.
So,
Goodness.
That's crazy. Jen, continue on. I have to let my dog out. He needs to go to
Okay.
the bathroom.
He sounds like he's yelling at you.
Right? Get off the podcast, Mike. What are you doing? I gotta pee. Open the door.
I was gonna say my wife is not. I would say she definitely has gotten into things like she had never seen Star Wars until we got together, and
Right.
thankfully she swears she's into it. Like,
Sure.
no, she does because she will quote and say things on her own. So that's how I know. And
It's
she
Stockholm syndrome. I think it's Stockholm syndrome.
and she definitely she loves the pops too. Like she's always like, oh, look at this one, we should get that. And I'll be like, oh, we should just get one. She's like, no, we should get the whole set. So it depends on what it is. I'm trying to think. She doesn't collect too much stuff herself anymore. As far as she's the only thing she really does is she's become a plant lady. Like she definitely has a lot of like succulents
Yeah.
and plants she takes care of. Which so we get to balance. We have some nerd stuff here, some plant stuff there. But that's one thing she's very much like like let's display our stuff. And we have a lot of posters too from movies and shows and stuff, and a lot of them are like artist renditions. So we like a lot of artists here and there, and so we have some cool art prints that we like to put up. And yeah, our pretty much our whole house. That's one of the things that I definitely say I really appreciate about her is that we share in this like love of a lot of the nerd culture, and it's not something that like at least kind of more back. At least in different generations, it'd be like, okay, that's something that's for you. That's more of your like your personal stuff, and like so maybe it wouldn't be like out of your whole house or whatnot. Like your living room would be like very much like an inviting space for all. And here it's like, no, you get all of you get all of our Star Wars nerd love, and like hopefully you all like it.
Right.
You will sit in the Boba Fett chair if you come to my house.
Exactly.
It's great. I love it. I mean, there's like some people I follow on TikTok, and they have like a life size Kylo Ren in their house and a life size Deadpool, and I'm like, I want one of those.
That would just scare me. I would wake up and be like, oh my god, someone's broken into my house. Just standing there with a knife.
You can't really think about it that way. You should think about people would be scared to come into your house because they'd be like, who's that standing in the corner?
True. I have a 24-hour ninja guard. Just saying.
Right. Man, especially if you put a voice box in that, like with Deadpool, and he like talked back to him if he saw it. Motion sensor.
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, today's not going to be a good day. I want a chimichanga.
No, see, then that would take me back because like that sounds good, but then that would take me back to what Matt said because I would be up at like 2:30 in the morning, like I have to use the restroom or something, and then walk past it, and it's like, hey, I want a chimichanga. You just like freak out.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're in Texas. That thing's liable to get shot if you did that to me. So
That is true.
Not today, Deadpool. Not today. So one of my questions is, what are y'all's like top favorite superheroes?
Are we saying superheroes like just in general, like from the line, like anybody, or like does it have to be like a Superman, or can it be like an anti-hero?
Yeah, I mean it can be anybody.
Okay.
I should have just put it as supers, but
okay, whatever. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Comic book hero.
Yeah.
John, why don't you go first?
Well, I kind of already touched on this. So Captain America has been my favorite pretty much forever. Like I said, I like that he's pretty much until recently always been like the most wholesome, like good guy that there is. I always like characters that stay true to themselves, and Spider-Man. I think for the longest time was like that too. I like Spider-Man a lot growing up. And then,
John's a Boy Scout. He's literally.
Oh, okay.
I am. We'll call him a Boy Scout. I guess that it's funny thinking about that is like because I don't think I ever even used a curse word. I was like no, until I was like in high school or like the end of high school probably even, and
until you met me.
Yeah, basically until. I was, I wore him down, but then he corrupted me. So,
yeah.
I mean, as far as I like, Batman's pretty always been up there too. I think mainly, pop culture too. I remember walking around the house when I was, like 3 or 4 years old in a towel and like a hoodie. And
so, do you have any of like the special like military comics that came out?
the military comics.
Yeah, so if you like, my dad was in the Air Force, so anytime we went out to like go to the BX or whatever, they have ones that are specifically for the Army, and it's them helping like the Avengers or something. And then
Oh
there'll
no!
be a line where like Iron Man has a conversation with the lieutenant of the group, and then at the end they're like, support the Army or something like that. Like I had like 5 of those.
Oh, that's cool.
I had
Yeah.
no idea. That's cool.
I wonder if those are rare now or not.
I don't know. I mean, it would be like a free thing. You'd see them outside of like half the stores there that you walked into, and it'd be like, "Hey, you want this?" If you went on like the Air Force base or anything. So I just thought of that by Matt saying you were a Boy Scout. I was like, "Oh, you might have those,"
So, which Captain America is your favorite?
Well, I mean, Steve Rogers. I mean, I do. I really do like Bucky cap suit too. Like that's probably the coolest cap suit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Steve Rogers. Although I have to say, I did watch all of Falcon Winter Soldier. I don't want to spoil it.
That suit looks nice.
Oh, I mean,
It's on my
did you
list.
finish it?
I didn't finish it yet, but I've read the comics. So.
Okay, well, are we all on the same page here that we know that someone else becomes Captain America eventually?
Yes.
Okay. Well, yeah. Falcon Cap is like he's my Cap now too. Like I'm down.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, Captain America's always been up there, and then like I love like I said, I love Star Wars, so like Luke Skywalker was always big for me, and Yoda and Bilbo. I read The Hobbit as one of the first books. Like I specifically remember sitting down and reading as a kid, and so like Bilbo Baggins has always been up there for me. For just like what a hero is.
Right.
The deep cuts with John. That's a deep cut.
Right. I feel like if I started singing the Blunt the Knives and Bend the Fork song, you'd join in with me.
Oh yeah. I for my heroes, I'm a bit. I don't know if you guys know. I mean, you might know Mike because you listen to the podcast a little bit more. But I'm a DC guy.
Yeah, I have noticed that, and that was one of my questions. What do y'all guys prefer, Marvel or DC?
I mean, hands down for me, it's DC. Obviously.
Yeah.
But for are you a DC or Marvel guy, John?
Okay, so you've been pulling my ear with DC, and we've read a lot of good DC now. I'm still going to say Marvel because Cap's my favorite, but I have really been like, I'm definitely not like a Marvel purist anymore. I'm not like, I only read Marvel comics.
Okay, yeah, I'm glad I'm corrupting you that way too. But, yeah, so with DC, I don't know why, but for some reason, I used to be a Marvel kid. Like when I started working at the comic book store, it was all like, ooh, X-Men. Maybe some Superman or Batman from DC, but nothing else. And then the more I worked at the comic store, and when you work there, you got this cool feature. The best thing probably about working there was you could check out books like a library because they wanted you to read as much so you could sell. And so we could check out like up to 10 books a week and just read them and then bring them back as long as you didn't fuck them up or something. Like you could, So, and I'm talking like the hardcovers or the trades too. So it wasn't just individual books. So I started reading all of DC because it is there's a bit of a barrier of continuity with DC.
The continuity is daunting sometimes.
Yes. So that's why in the comic book podcast that we have, I'm literally like, let's do these 6 episodes on this thing.
Yeah.
Or these 6 books. And then we can read this one, John, because you have to read them in that order to understand what's going on kind of thing. But I'm your Sherpa. I'm your DC Sherpa. And we're taking you through this journey, So, but yeah, if, for me, I mean, the first character from DC that I really fell in love with was, Hellblazer or Constantine.
Yes.
And I remembered seeing the movie when I was in high school. And I was like, that's a cool character, but it seemed really cheesy on some parts. And then after reading the comic, I was like, everything cool about that movie is in the comic and everything cheesy someone else added. And so I read that and I was like, this is so amazing. And it's like, I really like horror books too, or like horror is genre in general.
Yeah.
And so that's what that was. It's like a horror comic, but with a magician dude that's an asshole, so he's kind of like an anti-hero.
Right.
And then because of that, I ended up reading Swamp Thing because they're closely connected.
Yeah.
He actually his Constantine's first appearance is in Swamp Thing, the Alan Moore run from the 80s. So I read that and was just like, oh my god, this is my new favorite character. Like, this is amazing. So I'd have to say Swamp Thing is my favorite character, but Hellblazer is a close second.
Did you enjoy that TV show that came out for the Constantine?
I like that, and I like the Swamp Thing one too.
I haven't seen that one yet.
You'll probably really love my next question, and then I have, which is, if you could pick 5 supers to be on a team together, who would they be? Like your dream team.
Dream team. Huh. I would do Constantine, Swamp Thing, and then I'm a big fan of the weird characters like Booster Gold and Blue Beetle, and The Question. So that would be my other 3. I would round out the team with them.
I feel like you just picked my team.
Sorry, Mike.
Dang it.
You'd have to be like, I got to kick somebody off. Kitty Pryde's got to be on there.
Yeah, notice I didn't pick any Marvel characters. John, who would you pick?
Rude. So I would have Cap and Beast. He's probably my favorite X-Men. I'd probably have Batman. Little crossover there with them. Trying to think I'm trying to think if there's any like ones we've read more. Oh, Hellboy! I would definitely have Hellboy on the team. Oh, and you know what? I would probably have Blade. I'm a big Blade fan too, and just like that seems like a group. Everybody but Captain America there seems like oh yeah, we could go and hunt like dangerous demon-y like night creatures, and Cap's just like, what, vampires are real?
Right. All right, Mike, what's yours?
So going off of favorite superheroes, what are some of y'all's favorite runs of stories in comic books? Like your most like seminal runs that you guys like?
Ooh, that's a good question. Favorite runs? Well, obviously the Alan Moore Swamp Thing run is amazing.
Obviously, because you dedicated a podcast to it.
Yeah, I dedicated a whole podcast to just Swamp Thing, but the Alan Moore run is in that, and we're in that right now, and it's so amazing reading it issue by issue. But yeah, and when you say runs, you don't mean like limited stories, right? You just mean like actual like 50 story arcs or something.
Or like I guess you could say like maybe like the story arc itself, or like maybe like the creators that are on it type of thing.
Oh, okay.
I tried to make it very open of a question.
Gotcha. Okay, well, for me, Swamp Thing, and then the Alan Moore run, and then the Garth Ennis, Steve Dillon run on Hellblazer is also amazing. Those are my 2 like favorites. But John,
so I wasn't say. Again, with Cap, I think the Winter Soldier story is
that is a good one.
That's probably one of my absolute favorites. And like Winter
You're welcome. You're welcome, John. I'm the one who showed you that.
You're right. Winter Soldier all the way through like the actual comic Civil War run to the death of Captain America, like that
the whole Ed Brubaker
arc
one.
Whole arc with Cap there is just, I love it. It's so freaking good.
Yeah.
I've really been enjoying what we've read from was it Jeff Johns, right?
Yeah, Jeff Johns.
Yeah, like so Matt when he was working the comic book store, it was when Blackest Night came out for Green Lantern, and I read that and I was like, oh man, I love Green Lantern now. This is so good. And we most recently did the Sinestro Corps War. I had never read the previous stuff to that, so that was really cool. And he's not always the best writer, but like he just tells concise like story moving along plots, and they're so well interconnected. Like I've really been enjoying that.
I love his Aquaman run that he did.
I haven't read that. John, have you read his stuff, his Aquaman stuff?
I've read some Aquaman, but I don't remember who. It wasn't noteworthy enough. I was like, oh, this is fun. Like I like Aquaman, but I don't remember who.
Yeah, Jeff Johns did an Aquaman run. It didn't last that long, but it was really good.
I know there's an omnibus of it that's always like $35 or $40 on
Yeah.
Amazon, and I'm like, I should buy that for John because John is actually an Aquaman fan. I am not. It's not one of my favorite characters,
Yeah.
so I've never picked it up. But
John, your next Christmas present.
yep.
So during Blackest Night, did you get all those rings that came out with Blackest Night?
I did.
You
I did. Yes.
I see. Well, I worked at the store,
Uh-huh.
so they we were the ones handing them out. So I opened the box, but when it came in, I was like, I'm getting all of these, and I just pulled one for myself. And then also that year I went to Comic-Con, I think too, like the San Diego Comic-Con, and those rings were everywhere.
Yeah.
So that was pretty awesome.
I really like Grant Morrison too. I love All Star Superman. That is probably one of my absolute favorite comics.
Oh,
of all
yeah?
time. Like that. Yeah, that story run is really good. I really liked I had only ever read like, I don't know, one or two things from Frank Miller, and like I know some people don't like his art as it goes along further, but I still have really enjoyed. Like we read the whole the Dark Knight Returns series. That was fantastic. I haven't read it, but Matt tells me Sin City's excellent. We read all of Wolverine, and that was wonderful. So.
Listening to you guys talk about the Dark Knight, and like I could just see it gradually not getting as good as it was at the beginning.
Yeah, but it's hard when you start that good.
Yeah,
you know, like I just wanted to stay entertaining at least, you know, and I thought it was pretty solid until the very last one that came out.
Yeah,
but you know, everybody hated on it after the second one.
That's true. Sorry,
what
Jen.
Were you saying, Jen? Yeah.
So yeah, I had a question for John. Have you read the Captain America Sam Wilson comic?
No, I actually haven't read any of that yet. I only really started getting back into comics when we started this podcast together. So as far as like newer stuff, I've kept up as far as like I know certain details have happened. I know certain character changes, but I haven't read much of the current stuff unless we've like specifically picked it out for the podcast. Or Matt was like, hey, check this out. I haven't really jumped out too much, and that's because also like Matt was like, I'm ready to go buy comics this week, and I was like, I don't have money for comics this week. You know, I'll read them digitally later with you.
Right. I just had to ask because you were, you know, you were naming off a lot of the Captain America ones, and I was like, that's one that I really liked. So I just had to check and see.
What about Sam becoming Cap? Like as far as what made that special to you? What do you like about it?
I like one of the scenarios that happens in it, and I like where they brought Capwolf back for a while.
Oh, that's awesome!
They I'll just spoil a little bit for you.
That's fine. So, yeah, you can spoil.
So you have Bloodwing. Is that Sam Hawke's name, or am I getting that mixed up with Borderwing?
It's Redwing, I believe.
Redwing. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Redwing gets caught, gets taken to an animal experimentation place where they take like underprivileged people as well, trying to fuse them into animals, which is how Sam ends up becoming Capwolf. But because of his bond, the vampiric bond or whatever with Redwing, this other new character that is a Spanish guy gets fused with the Hawk DNA.
Oh yeah, he was in the TV show.
Yeah, a Redwing, and can now basically sit there and talk to Sam through that vampiric telepathic bond that they have, and he actually becomes the new Falcon for Sam's Captain America.
Yeah, he gets like mutated into he has like wings.
I mean, it was like a 4th of July thing on Marvel Unlimited, and it was like $1 a volume, and I was like, I'm buying all this crap. So it was
Nice.
like my favorite run that I read out of what I could on that.
We'll have to check that out on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't read. That's from the 2015, right, or whatever. Is that what that was?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have read the stuff like the old when Falcon like took over for Cap for a bit in like the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
I've read some of that stuff, but I didn't read the new stuff.
So I have 2 more questions. I don't know how many Jen has left, but Where'd my questions go? Oh, there it is. What is what is your favorite podcast episode that you've recorded within the time you've recorded your podcast? Like, what's the one you had most fun recording?
Oh wow, that's a good question. I don't know. They it's tough.
It's like picking your favorite child, you know?
Yeah, totally. Most of the time when I record it, I'm like, wow, I sounded dumb in that one or whatever. like when you hear your own voice, or you're like, I don't know how good that one was, but I know all of our early ones are pretty rough, so they're none of those ones.
I think you guys have improved quite a bit.
Yes, the banter got a little smoother. The audio quality got boosted within the first 3 or 4 episodes, so that's good. But I'm gonna say the one I liked the most that I can remember that really stuck out was "Motor Girl" by Terry Moore.
Which
I think is number 10 or something. That one was a surprise because I've always liked Terry Moore's stuff, but that was I read it and it literally was like I'm in tears. Like this is such a good comic, and it just like hit me emotionally really hard. So I was like, John, you have to read this, and it hit him the same way. And then we were both like, this is a really, really good comic that everybody needs to read and know about. So I feel like that one was a good episode.
Yeah.
It was a lot of extra work, but just to piggyback, like that. Matt had showed me some Terry Moore, and I enjoyed it. But when we read, I didn't expect that with Motor Girl, and it blew me away, like how touching and like sincere that story was within a, like a little bit of goofy action comedy. It was really, really good. I definitely like I recommend that one for most people. Are like, hey, what's a cool weird comic that maybe you've never heard of? So but we did a series for Halloween. We did like 13 mini episodes. It's like the 13 comics of Halloween. It was a lot of extra work, especially on Matt's part. Matt does a lot more, pretty much almost all of the editing. So I know it was more in his part. We have some more help with that now, and I've tried to take on more as we've gotten into this. But like I really enjoyed reading all of these weird, obscure horror stuff, and like most of the time it's just like for the mini episodes, it's like we just read the first one just to get like a taste of what the stories were, and that was a lot of fun. Like reading these weird, obscure.
Yeah, didn't you guys read the Cap Wolf issue?
We did.
That?
That's why I laughed so hard. I was like, Cap Wolf, yeah. And
it was terrible.
Oh my god.
Matt also has really brought out my appreciation for Darwin Cook.
Oh yes,
so
yes.
Like I didn't pay as close. Like I knew a lot of actors growing up, and but I didn't know like if I had read comics or watch a TV show that maybe was based on a comic. I didn't realize that so and so who did the comic also helped with the show and whatnot. But Matt has shown me a lot of Darwin Cook stuff, and like. Man, like I really enjoyed like the Parker series. This has been really fun.
So good.
And like his Darwin Cook's Justice League was just absolutely gorgeous. Like I love his style of artwork. I love his storytelling as well. Like I've really enjoyed those as well. Every time when he's like, "Hey, let's do another Parker. Hey, let's do another Darwin Cook," I'm always like, "Yes, let's do that."
Darwin Cook is definitely like one to read. His books are amazing.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Yeah. I met him.
Really?
At that Comic-Con that I went to in 2009, I think. It was the first year he was doing the Parker series for IDW, and I walked by a booth, and it was just him sitting there with no one there.
Oh,
and
man.
I was like, what is that? And I look at him like, it's Darwin Cook. And he was selling the numbered special edition version of the Parker series.
Oh yeah.
And he would sign it, and he inked the first page.
Oh wow.
In blue ink, and I was like, yes, I need one of these. You're so awesome. I love you. He's super nice, super cool. We talked about old 60s like crime novels and stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's cool. So my last question is: so the podcast is called Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. When are you guys going to talk about the planes and the trains?
You know, it was like a hey, I think this is what we should call it because we love that movie, and you know, it was kind of a stupid. It doesn't really work, but we tried to make it work
Yeah,
because we have a logo that my wife actually made that
Yeah.
has Superman holding a plane and like Wonder Woman or Superwoman or whoever stopping a train, and then a comic book in the middle. So,
Yeah.
so
Oh my god.
that's the best we got. We maybe branded incorrectly, but I feel like it was.
I'm waiting for these episodes. We just talk about planes and trains.
Yeah,
Right.
we should do that. We should have done that for April Fools.
Oh,
Right.
Dang.
If we do that, John, we should do that next year, and we should do an actual full episode about planes and trains.
Planes and trains. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, just to piss everybody out. Is this really an hour of talking about planes and trains?
Right. So I have 2 questions left. My first one is there anything that you all feel like that you would love to add to your podcast now that you don't have now?
Add?
Mhm.
like what? Like subject wise?
Yeah, like better audio or just something else that you could add into it, a different opener or an ending or something like that.
Oh, well, actually, what I was gonna say or what I would have said just happened. We actually got a new theme song.
Oh yeah, you
Um,
did. You did.
Yeah, my buddy, because I went to music school. My buddy who I went to school with, he like I guess got inspired one day after listening to our podcast and hearing my terrible song that I just put together real quick, and he was like, I'm gonna write some epic orchestral version of the Planes and Trains and Automobiles theme song. So he did that, and I just took it, sped it up, and put it underneath it. So,
It works perfect though. It sounds fantastic. Like,
Yeah.
was blown away when he did that.
yeah, it was very nice.
All right.
I-
And
I don't know if there's anything like I would say that to add. Like as far as like, I definitely like that we're venturing more into YouTube. Like at 1st I thought I was like, I don't know, like that seems like uh a lot of extra content. But the more
Yeah.
we've been getting to, it's like, oh yeah, you know, like well, it would be fun to do this too and this too, and they don't all. Not everything has to be an hour long.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I think the attention span of people is definitely dwindling. People like what's the short news story, like what's going on.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about the things to add there as far as like I think I might start doing some reviews for like probably like comic related, like trailers and movies and
Oh,
stuff.
cool.
But as far as the podcast itself, I mean, I feel like we definitely have started to get a good rhythm there now. So honestly, it's just more like you guys reaching out like this has been really cool, and
Yes, very much so.
yeah,
Oh.
we really appreciate it, and it's definitely
Oh,
something that
thank
we're
you.
hoping.
I just have to say, yeah, Mike.
Look, okay, when you told me, it was like the day
Here's-
like Matt started like messaging me, and he was
he's like, I was like, you should get him on, Mike. I said we could talk to him. I said, I was like, you listen to their podcast all the time. Why wouldn't it be fun to have them on? He goes, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready for that. I said, shut up and do it.
well, I was like, he just started messaging me. I don't want to be the creepy guy. Hey, you want to come on my podcast?
Right?
It's in my basement. And you gotta
I got
come at 10 at night.
I got like off of Family Guy. I got some popsicles down in the cellar.
Get back here.
Right? So,
we appreciated it though.
Oh,
So.
yeah.
Yeah.
so my last question is actually played off of Mike's last question, and I just want to know if when y'all are going to do an episode, which I'm special requesting it now, but when y'all are going to do an episode on your top super vehicles, like your top 10.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Ooh, do like a top 10 kind of count. That's a good idea.
Yeah, and then it's the final countdown.
Oh, we'll play some Asia. I
Right.
don't know if we'll get copyrighted for it. But, yeah. That's a good idea. I mean, there's definitely a lot of Batmobiles that I like. Actually, what would probably be better is cars we don't, or like things we don't like, because there's a
Oh.
lot of bad designs.
Oh man,
in
y'all can
some
do
of those
both.
books. Yeah, that's a good idea.
This is the good side, and this is the bad side, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we just talked about the Spider-Mobile and the Wolverine Old
Oh,
Man
yeah.
episode. So
Yeah, that was interesting to see. I was looking, I was like, is that the Spider-Mobile? That's so weird and random.
That's a deep cut right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So we'll have to,
we'll take that into
discuss it,
account. Yeah, we'll for sure
Yeah.
do one now that you requested it. Special request.
Yeah.
I wish there was a swamp. There's got to be a Swamp Thing mobile or something.
I wouldn't be surprised.
There's definitely has to be one for the TV show, like the cartoon that happened. So he's
Right.
got to have
Yeah.
like his little van. Or
I
something.
remember having Swamp Thing toys back in the day, and there had to be like a Swamp Mobile or something. Everybody, like the Ninja Turtles, had
I was
their.
gonna say the Ninja Turtles van is definitely on that list of best.
There was a issue. I think it was either Batman or Swamp Thing. I can't remember. Where Batman fought Swamp Thing, and he had like a tank, like a special tank to fight Swamp Thing at one point.
Yeah, there's a couple Batman Swamp Thing versus issues.
Like I think like Swamp Thing like took over Gotham. I can't remember exactly what happened.
Yeah, it's in the Alan Moore run
Yeah.
in the 50s, in the issues 53 or something like that.
Yeah, he got in trouble for fucking his girlfriend. 'Cause he's a
Yes, yes, yeah. They were like, for spoilers, man. We haven't got there yet.
Oh,
Podcast.
sorry.
What an ass! How
Oh,
could you
man.
do this?
Dang it.
Matt's Minis is canceled now.
It's
Damn.
canceled. You ruined it. Oh yeah. Also with the, I noticed you changed your.
Yeah, I
Your minions.
felt bad because I
Don't
was
feel
like,
bad. No, I like it. I thought it was fun.
I was like, I don't want to ape on them. you
No,
know?
it's cool.
Yours is it's repetition. It's that alliteration, man. Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Then it would be funny because of the cancellation of that. Mike's like, I can go back and change my name.
There you go. Yeah, that's he was trying to get it canceled. That's what-
Right?
Nice.
But yeah, thank you guys for coming on. Go ahead, plug your podcast and tell people where they can find you guys at.
Yeah, well, I just want to say thanks a lot, guys, for having us on. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys, listening to your podcast and whatnot, and to talking to you guys tonight. It's been super fun.
Oh,
But
thank you.
you can find our podcast anywhere. It's the Planes, Trains, and Comic Books podcast on all apps and everything. If you we're also on YouTube as well under
Yes.
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. So we're trying to build that audience up. We're at like almost 70 subscribers.
If you go to
So-
my featured channels listings on my channel, you
I
guys
did
can
see that.
you guys can find their YouTube channel, so it's easy to find.
Yes, thank you very much for
You're
putting us
welcome.
on there.
You're welcome.
And
So,
I will throw it again. Yes, thank you guys very much, Mike and Jen. You this was really super kind and like genuine, especially like we just hit our 1 year mark.
Oh, really? You did?
Yeah, we
Oh,
do.
wow.
2-year mark.
2-year mark. I'm sorry, 2-year mark. Yeah, wow.
Cool. Well,
I am done.
Well-
How did you not know this, Mike?
Oh,
How did
'cause-
you not know
because
this?
I binged their podcast in the span of like 4 months.
That's true. If you just sit there and start listening, yeah, that's easy to rush by. I mean, I forgot it was 2 now.
I
This-
work in a
this whole last
cubicle.
year's
I
been-
have a lot of time on my hands. Okay,
And not only that, it's technically for me and John, it's 2 years, but the listeners, we only put the first one out in November. We recorded the first 10 way earlier, so so that's what John is saying. It's like our anniversary,
well, that's
Yeah.
cool.
but it's early.
That's cool.
So so again having this kind of thing pop up is really nice, and we appreciate it, and we we hope that maybe some of your listeners will check us out, and hopefully some of
Oh
ours
yeah,
will check out your guys' stuff.
yeah. No, you guys spread the love around.
For sure.
And we so as far as listeners go, like
Mhm,
for the actual podcast itself, like it's not bad. Like
mhm.
a lot of we have our main stuff through Libsyn,
Yeah.
as we put it out through, and like it kind of fluctuates. We had
Mhm,
especially during the pandemic, there were some real high spikes and then
yeah.
some lows. You could tell when some people were home and some people were
Back to work.
back to work. Yeah,
Yeah.
but but we have our Twitter, our Instagram, and our Instagram. We definitely try to. put out in our Facebook. We try to put out
Yeah.
more polls, and we do little. We're starting to do. We've done a couple contests, and we're going to do some when we're almost at 3,000
Oh, cool.
fans on Facebook and 2,000 on Instagram. So we're going to run a Comixology gift card contest
Sweet.
with that soon. So yeah, so we're
Yeah.
we're just trying to reach as many people as we can that like comics and nerd stuff, and like
Yeah.
maybe don't know if they want to sit down and take a couple hours to read some run they heard some good stuff. So if we can spoil enough of it or give them enough details to where it sounds good, like if that can inspire their enjoyment and to pick up
I
a
mean,
comic,
you guys got me to read Invincible, and now I have like a bunch of Invincible, and I got to read it.
That's
Yeah.
cool. I got us to read. I got me to read Invincible too, because I've only read up to like issue 50, like when it
Yeah.
first came out, and now I'm rereading all the compendiums. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, it gets better. It only gets better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you guys for coming on. This was a blast.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
it was.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah. Thanks.
And we'll keep it